Welcome back. Today's discussion will be on waste and ecosystem. Today, we'll be mainly focusing on the first part of this chapter. It will include discussion on biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste and a short introduction on ecosystem. Biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. The environment includes our physical surroundings like air, water bodies, soil, land, and all the organisms such as plants, animals, human beings, and microorganisms, including bacteria and fungi. The waste materials produced by the various activities of these man and animals are poisonous after some extent. These can be divided into two groups, the biodegradable waste and the non-biodegradable waste. What is biodegradable waste? Substances that are broken down by the biological process are said to be biodegradable. These substances are decomposed through the actions of fungi, bacteria, and other living organisms. Temperature and sunlight play an important role in the decomposition of biodegradable waste. For example, these include food waste, tree leaves, urine and fecal matter, sewage and agricultural residue, paper, wood, cloth, cow dung, and lots more. Coming to non-biodegradable waste. What are these? These are substances that are not broken down by biological process. These substances may be in solid, liquid, or gaseous form. These substances are inert and they may simply persist in the environment for a longer time, or they can even harm the various members of the ecosystem. These non-biodegradable wastes are the major pollutants of the environment. These include DDT, insecticides, pesticides, mercury, lead, arsenic, aluminum, plastics, polythene bags, glass, and radioactive waste. So, coming to the harmful effects, the waste destroy the natural beauty and our surroundings become dirty. Decomposition of these wastes will result in the production of foul smell which spreads to the surrounding areas. These wastes may also block the drains, creating pools of waste which becomes the breeding sites of mosquitoes. The latter is carriers of disease like malaria and dengue. Now, let us talk about the ecosystem. An ecosystem is a self-contained unit of living things and their non-living environments. For example, an ecosystem can include a forest, a pond, a lake, a green land, and lots more. In an ecosystem, energy and matter are continuously exchanged between the living and non-living components. An ecosystem can be both natural or man-made. Some examples of natural ecosystem are grassland, forest, sea, river, mountain, ponds, lake, etc. The desert, grass, and mountains represent the terrestrial ecosystem termed land-based ecosystem. Ponds, rivers, lakes, and seas represent the aquatic ecosystem, which are termed as water-based ecosystem. Man-made artificial ecosystems include garden, crop fields, park, and aquarium. As I said in the previous slide, ecosystem can be man-made or natural. The man-made ones include the croplands and the aquarium, whereas the natural are of two types, aquatic and terrestrial. The aquatic ecosystem are again subdivided as marine ecosystem such as sea and oceans and the freshwater ecosystem such as river, lake, pond and pool. Coming to the terrestrial ecosystem, it's nothing but the land ecosystem that includes our forest, desert, grassland. The components of ecosystem. An ecosystem basically contains two components, biotic component and abiotic component. Coming to the biotic component, it includes three types of organisms, producers, consumers, and decomposers. let's talk in detail about producers. Green plants, blue-green algae can produce their food from inorganic substances using light energy. Therefore, all green plants are called as producers. These can also be termed as autotrophs. Planktons are very minute or microscopic organisms freely floating on the surface of water, in a pond, lake or a river. These planktons can be of two types, phytoplanktons and zooplanktons. The microscopic aquatic plants freely floating on the surface of water are called as phytoplanktons. The microscopic aquatic animals freely floating on the water are called as zooplanktons. Let's discuss about consumers. These are organisms which consume other organisms or their products as their food. All animals belong to this category. The consumers depend upon producers for their food directly or indirectly. They get their food by eating other organisms or their products. For example, man, fish, lion, cow, etc. are the common consumers. Consumers are classified into four types: herbivores, carnivores, parasites, and omnivores. Let's talk about each in detail in the upcoming slides. What are herbivores? Herbivores are organisms which get their food by eating the producers or the plants directly. Herbivores are also called as first-order consumers. Some common examples of herbivores are deer, rabbit, rat, squirrel, goat, and cattle, etc. Now, what is carnivores? Yes, carnivores are organisms which consume other animals. Therefore, carnivores feed on the flesh of herbivores. These are called as primary carnivores or the second-order consumers. Some common examples are snake, cat, jackal, frog, birds, and fishes. Some common examples are snake, wildcat, jackal, frog, some birds, fishes, etc. There are animals which prey upon primary carnivores. They are termed as second-order consumers or third-order consumers. For example, owl, peacock, tiger, lion, etc. are some second-order carnivores and may be eaten up by the third-order carnivores. The carnivores which are not preyed upon are further called as top carnivores. For example, lion is a top carnivore. Omnivores. Omnivores are organisms which feed on both plants and animals. Human beings are a common example of omnivores because they eat both plants and animals. Now, let's talk about the third biotic component, decomposers. Fungi and bacteria break down, that is, decompose the dead plants, animals' complex compounds into the simpler one. These are termed as decomposers. The decomposers help in the replenishment of natural resources. These are also known as micro-organisms or saprotrophs. These can also be termed as reducers. So, what is the importance of decomposers? Decomposers helps in decomposing the waste and dead bodies of plants and animals. Therefore, they clean the environment. Decomposers releases minerals and other raw materials trapped in the organic matter. These are picked up by plants. This also helps to maintain the fertility of the soil. The decomposers produce some acids which are useful in solubilization of some minerals. The decomposers help in recycling the materials in the biosphere so that the process of life may go on and on without ending the chain. Now, let's discuss on the topic abiotic components. These are non-living components of an ecosystem. These include the physical environment. It affects factors like soil texture, topography, water, and air. Inorganic substances like carbon dioxide, nitrogen, oxygen, water, phosphorus, sodium, potassium, and calcium. These are involved in the cyclic materials in the ecosystem. Organic compounds such as proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids. These largely form the living body and link the abiotic and biotic components. Climatic factors such as sunlight, temperature, pressure, humidity, moisture, rainfall. These factors affect the distribution of organisms. Food chain, food web, and the trophic levels. Flow of energy, 10% law. Depletion of the ozone layer, biological magnification, mode of waste disposal. All these constitute an ecosystem. Let's talk in detail about the last point in the upcoming slides. Food chain. For example, grass is eaten up by the deer, and the deer is in turn eaten up by the lion, which is nothing but producer, herbivore, and carnivore. This is the link between biotic components in this food chain. What is a food web? The interconnected food chains operating in an ecosystem which establish a network of relationship between various species are termed as a food web. In a food web, one organism may occupy a position in more than one food chain. An organism can obtain its food from different sources and in turn may be eaten up by different types of organisms. Now, let's talk about the 10% law. The 10% law states that only 10% of the energy entering a particular trophic level of organism is available for the transfer to the next higher trophic level. For example, suppose 1000 joules of solar energy is received by green plants, then only 1% of solar energy available on the earth is utilized by the plants. So, 10 joules, that is 1% of 1000 joules, is trapped by the plants and the rest 990 joules of energy is lost to the environment. So plants utilize only 10 joules of energy. Next, only 10% of the 10 joule of energy of the plant is available to the herbivore animal. That is nothing but 1 joule. The rest of the 9 joule is lost to the environment. Just 10% of the 1 joule of energy is utilized by the carnivore animal. Thus, the carnivore animal have only 0.1 joule of energy, while the rest of the 0.9 joule is lost to the environment. This is the 10% law. So, what are the environmental problems? Changes in the environment affect us and our activities. Change the environment around us. For example, depletion of ozone layer and waste disposal. Let's talk about each in detail. Coming to the depletion of ozone layer is largely found in the stratosphere, which is part of our atmosphere from 12 km to 50 km above sea level. This region is called as ozonosphere. Ozone is deadly poisonous at the ground level. Ozone is formed as a result of the following photochemical reaction. The decline of ozone layer was first discovered in Antarctica and was termed as ozone hole in the year 1985. What are the steps to limit damage of ozone layer? Excessive use of chlorofluorocarbon, a synthetic inert chemical, should be reduced. A single chlorine atom can destroy 1 lakh ozone molecules. Now let's talk about biological magnification. The increasing concentration of harmful chemical substances like pesticides in the body of living organism at each trophic level of a food chain is termed as biological magnification. For example, grass has 10 parts per million DDT, deer has 200 parts per million DDT, and lion has 5,000 parts per million DDT. Therefore, the maximum concentration of such chemicals get accumulated in the human bodies. Let's talk about garbage disposal. Industrialization and rising demand of consumer goods have created a major problem in the form of waste and garbage accumulation and its disposal, especially in the urban areas. The disposal of waste should be done in a scientific way. There are different methods of waste disposal. The method to be used depends on the nature of the waste. Some important modes of waste disposal are incineration, burning of waste on high temperature to form ash. This is termed as incineration. Open dumping, a conventional method in which solid wastes are dumped in selected areas of a town. It actually causes pollution. Landfillings, wastes are dumped in low-lying areas and are compacted by rolling with bulldozers. Composting, organic wastes are filled into a compost pit. It is then covered with a thin layer of soil. After about 3 months, the same garbage filled inside the pit changes into the organic manure. Recycling, the solid waste is broken down into its constituent simpler materials. These materials are then used to make new items. Even non-biodegradable solid waste like plastic metals can be recycled. Reuse, a very simple conventional technique of using an item again and again. For example, paper can be reused to make envelopes, etc.
So that's all for today, and we are completing the discussion on the chapter Waste and Management. Hope it was easy to understand. Let's meet again with another topic. Until then, bye-bye.